campus since the summer after my sophomore year, so about a year and a half, a little bit more. When I first got to the U of R, I didn't have a very strong opinion about the 19th ward until I heard what other students were saying about it, and a lot of what other students were saying about it were largely negative. They were saying that this is a place where crime is rampant, where you wouldn't want to find yourself alone or at night, and also like a place generally that you should fear. I think the campus community, if they fail to expand their opinion of this place beyond like your first impression when you get here freshman year, they certainly would hold the same opinions that I did when I first arrived.
A lot of my friends don't feel safe like outside of campus, and that they wouldn't consider living in the like near neighborhoods because of the robberies. And when public safety notifies us of the neighborhood 19 wharf, like the unsafety that is going on there, the robberies and the assaults, we don't feel comfortable there. We feel like we may get assaulted.
19th Ward.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you hear about it?
Robberies, violence, negativity.
Yes.
I just heard it's the ghetto. Like, I get that we're in a whole nother state and everybody's away from home. But I feel like sometimes people come to college and they kind of just, sometimes they'll like lose their morals or forget where they're from, and they just think that they're in this bubble and that they just can do whatever. There's definitely a separation. The bridge separates us from them. I feel like the University of Rochester is just like a suburb in itself, because it's like you got like poverty and all of this stuff across the street, but you have kids that are paying like $70,000 a year to come to this university that's across the river.
Yeah, I know quite a few people who live over there, and they've never had any problems, but I do know that there are issues that happen every once in a while.
The problem is that when you're like walking back alone and it's like late at night, you probably will think about all the emails about the robbery and the stuff going on. It kind of makes me feel like unsafe and scared. So I always like look for blue lights or something. But like nothing like bad happened to me personally yet. So
I used to work in the 19th ward, so I'd be back and forth every night by myself. It just kind of got used to it, but also you never really get used to it because there's that feeling of fear and vulnerability. But I feel like that's a general tied to walking alone at night as opposed to the neighborhood in particular.
Well, I know a lot of people have had bad experiences with getting robbed. Someone personally tried stopping my car at night.
Okay.
I drove through them, but I know other people may not be lucky enough to have it go okay. Yeah, so I know a lot of people have bad things happen to them. Yes,
That's
I
for
feel
sure.
entirely safe on campus. As soon as I get over the bridge, I just like kind of breathe a sigh of relief, actually. Even when I'm in my car, it's nice to get over the bridge. But here I feel safe because of campus security. Obviously, vast majority of people who live in the ward are like perfectly nice, normal, law-abiding, great people. I'm being recorded, so I should be careful. But honestly, I do believe that it is a place where bad things happen. So I don't think it's going to happen to everyone. I don't think it happens all the time. And I don't think and I honestly believe that vast majority of people who live there are wonderful people. I don't think it's like you're going to walk in and die. It's not a war zone. But it is somewhere that you do have to be careful, and you do have to be aware of your surroundings, and you should go with a group of people.
My opinion has changed entirely since I first came here as a freshman. Living off campus has given me so many opportunities to just open my eyes and see that this place is a place where families are, where kids are playing, where people are just living their lives and not doing all the deviant things that are presumed of it on campus. I'm a neighborhood ambassador, and my two bosses, John and Robin, they both live in the 19th Ward, and John is your, like, quintessential armchair historian about Rochester history.
Personally, I've lived in the neighborhood on the west side of the city, the 19th Ward, since 1983, and I became the legislative aide to a Rochester City Councilman that represents both the 19th Ward community and the university community and parts of the Wedge, and his name is Adam McFadden. I also have a small appointment at the university as a community advisor through the Office for Residential Life and Housing Services. I think that we have to go back to the transition in the community, which was primarily from a white Southern European community, primarily with a large Italian population, to a black community, which was in the early 60s. And part of that was because of the unrest affiliated with race relations in the United States in the early 60s and the movement for civil rights. Rochester was, I believe, the second city in the United States to have what were then called race riots. I would give them a different term, protests, living condition protests, something like that. There recently has been, for the first time in a while, there's been an increase in concern over crime on the west side because there were 3 robberies of students in a row. And it's interesting how cyclical this is, that over the last 25 years, in terms of a trend line, our crime rate in the city in general, and especially in the Southwest, and that's the part of the city that we're in, has gone down almost year over year. And this year, it's really at the lowest ebb that it has been in the last 25 years. And I should say that there are 2 neighborhoods that should be differentiated since I'm talking primarily to a student audience. One is from Genesee toward the river, and that's the Plymouth Exchange or Plex neighborhood, and one is the 19th Ward, and that's west of Genesee Street toward the airport. There is a federal act called the Clery Act that went into effect several years ago. Before that act, colleges were not, and universities were not required to report certain crimes unless they rose to a certain criminal level. When the Clery Act came, it now requires every year more aggressive crime reporting. I don't really try to convince anyone that the neighborhood is safe, because that's a fool's breakfast. Because if people want to believe that being in a community of the other puts them in danger, there's nothing that I, as a 67-year-old white guy, can tell them to reassure them.
Yeah, the Neighborhood Ambassador Program is the off-campus living office, so of the University of Rochester, their effort to connect the 2 communities. Basically, a lot of the effort is like, we want to be courteous to our neighbors, and obviously the university has like a big impact on who ends up living in these houses.
Tim has been living on Congress Ave for over 20 years. About 10 years ago, the houses on either side of him were heavily involved with drugs and crime. But with the influx of college students, it's actually made the community a lot safer and a lot nicer of a place. When I told him that students still thought of the 19th Ward, especially right across the river, as a ghetto, he kind of laughed and said, just go to any other part of Rochester and it'll be a lot worse.
Our public safety has improved too, primarily because of the concern of the students that university has for the students. So it raises all boats, and we have more police presence, and we live in a safer community as a result.
When I brought up the Neighborhood Ambassadors program, Tim had never heard of it. He didn't get any flyers or anything, so one thing that he would recommend doing is having more communication with the residents. The Ambassadors program, while good in theory, may not be reaching out to as many people as it should or it could be.
I made friends with some little girls on Congress Ave. And so yeah, just like hanging out with them, like seeing their perspective on the world has been really great. Just getting to know like a different slice of life. Oftentimes we forget like about how other people live their lives. Where a lot of the mentality starts about the 19th ward being this place of crime and place to avoid really starts like during freshman orientation week, when there's like rumors of, and this term makes me want to vomit, the felony footbridge. They would simultaneously like fear this place, but also brag about how the 19th ward is a dangerous place, and it elevates their coolness that they would come over here. Yeah, and I think if people just like stop for a second, question why it is they have the prejudices that they do against this place, and like open their eyes to see like what's actually going on here, being open to change your opinion is an important step in uprooting like deep-seated bias that afflicts everybody.